A new Star Wars journey begins in the place all good journeys begin. At, well, the beginning. This Star Wars Day, I'm excited to introduce the new Star Wars Canon Timeline podcast, where we will piece together the complete story of that galaxy far, far away in timeline order, from the dawn of the Jedi through the great unknown following the sequel trilogy. This is a podcast for both Star Wars superfans and complete newbies. Listen to the short intro episode now to hear how it works and what to expect over the coming weeks as we set the stage for the new television series The Acolyte, which we will be covering with weekly breakdowns. Subscribe to the Star Wars Canon Timeline podcast wherever you listen to take part in one of the most epic and expansive stories ever told, following all the twists and turns from start to finish. May the 4th be with you all month and beyond.
Welcome to the House of the Hounds. We're the Lorehounds, your guides to the Dance of the Dragons. I'm John.
And I'm David, and this is our coverage for Season 1, Episodes 3 and 4, titled Second of His Name and King of the Narrow Seas, of the HBO Max Original Series House of the Dragon.
Today we'll be giving our hot takes before diving into a deeper discussion of these episodes. Then we'll be answering some ravens from listeners.
Oh, I see what you did there. Very clever.
On theme.
Send your ravens to HOTD, hot D, at thelorehounds.com, or head over to our contact page on our website, and there is a form you can fill out that will send a raven for you, or you can leave us a voicemail, and we can drop that right into the podcast.
Support the community on Supercast or Patreon. Join the conversation on the Discord and take a listen to our affiliate podcasts. You can find links for everything in the show notes.
John, I think people are in for a little treat after the credits of this episode, or were you saving that for later?
Oops, I forgot to load it up, but I can.
That's okay. You can drop it in post.
Yeah. I know. I remembered today something that was buried in my memory.
Deep within the recesses and the folds of your mind.
Prior to my fan bankruptcy, I had written a song because I was so emotionally hit by the meeting of Jon Snow and Sansa in the late seasons of Game of Thrones that I was like, I'm going to write a song about this, because right at that time I had a band. I was trying to do the singer-songwriter thing. And I wrote this whole song that didn't explicitly say like this is about Jon Snow and Sansa, but it was like sort of inspired by it. And there are little clues that it's a Game of Thrones song. And you and Alicia kind of convinced me to release it at the end of this podcast. So, and I'll put it as a download for Lore Fiend and Lore Master patrons as well.
I love it. It was very funny to hear your younger self singing.
I was 22 when I recorded it. Yeah, 8 years ago.
It's pretty wild. I think it's great. I think it's a fun little thing. So stick around to the end of the podcast to
post credits.
Post credits.
Right.
Something else that you have been more recently hard at work on is our new show guide for House of the Dragon.
Oh yeah. Using
the Notion platform. I don't know if listeners are aware of this. It's a wacky database web. I don't know. It's an amazing tool. I love it. And we've done show guides for True Detective and for Shogun. And we've also got our show tracker on it. I'm using it to track my movies and rank my scores and everything. I used it last year for my top 10. It calculated my top 10 for me and everything. Anyway, on that, you and Brian 8063 and Aaron have made this incredible resource that if you want to get your bearings for season 1 and not be spoiled by any of the other information, or God, I go some of these wiki fandom pages and I can't even scroll the page because there's so many freaking ads. This has a character guide, a location, bestiary. I can look up information about the dragons. I can see all of Rhaenyra's sons, and I can link and click to their pages. I can look on my phone and scroll as I'm watching an episode. Wait, who's that guy? And then I'm like, oh, there's that person. Okay, now I know who that is. It's an amazing resource, and I'm just so proud of the fact that you guys have it. It looks great. It just looks great.
I'm proud of it too, and I'm glad to do it. And don't forget that it's a subscriber benefit. But
Yes.
we have a new way to be a subscriber right now. Instead of doing a monthly recurring subscription, you can alternatively join the Hot D season pass, which means that you give us $10, we give you everything Hot D from season 1 and 2, and all our podcasts plus the show guide.
Right, ad-free, early access, and that's it. $10 and you're done.
Yep.
And you're not subscribed. There's
forever
no
and ever,
things.
amen, as they say.
What's that?
If I said forever and ever, amen, as they say.
So I think that's enough salesmanship for
I think
the fun
so.
side of this.
We're only 5 minutes in. We're okay.
That's okay. Anyway, we don't like to be too salesy, but we do have some cool benefits that we just want to let you know about. So
I'm just jazzed up about the season pass.
Yes,
About the show guide, rather.
I'm jazzed about the season pass. I'm glad that we have Supercast.
Aren't we jazzed about it all? Anyway,
we're jazzed.
House of the Dragon. What's your hot D take?
So for episode 3, I was mixed in my reactions to it. And then episode 4, it was like, oh yeah, this is the show. This is where it's
Episode
happening.
4 is a baller.
Totally. 3 was a little bit like, hey, let's go film Ren Fair. You know?
No, I liked it. I'll defend it, but you go ahead.
Yeah, it just, I don't know, something was off in the post-production. The details felt very too, I don't know, it didn't feel, there was a graininess. There was something that was lacking in the authenticity of all of the stuff when they were out in the Kingswood. The stuff with the crab eater and the fight. And I remember last year when it came out, was it last year or 2 years ago? Good Lord. What happened?
2 years ago.
Time dilation. That everybody, we were all kind of losing our minds. They're like, oh my God, they're like getting straight into this action. We're seeing dragons fight. We're seeing this crab eater dude.
Yeah.
We thought he was going to be a ongoing, multiple episode protagonist. Nope. And it was a real whoa kind of episode 3. But yeah, there were parts of it that were, I don't know, just kind of a little campy for me. And I'm not knocking it as an episode. I'm just saying on a relative scale, I enjoyed half of the episode less than I did the other half of the episode. And then we get to episode 4 and you're just like, okay, this is what this show is about. And these little turns and happenings and events that happen, the whole thing stems from this one night out on the town, kind of, and the interweavings and just the way that they're setting up the girls and their the princesses, the queen, actually, I should say, and the princess, and these slights that are starting to build up, these hurts that are, these bruises that are being experienced by them. And it's just like, okay, yeah, this is what I'm here for House of the Dragon for. Episode 4 really, really encapsulated it for me.
Yeah.
What about you?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think episode 4 is a stronger episode for sure. Though I did really like episode 3. I really like Drunk Viserys. That was a lot of fun.
Sure.
Just a wacky dude. We love drunk Uncle Vissy, right?
Yeah, he was in his cups, as they say, literally.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, let's save it for the. I got things to say about that poor man, but we can save it for when we get into it.
Yeah, he's a wacky guy. I really do like how they're fostering the relationship between Rhaenyra and Alicent through both of these episodes, but especially the second episode. And
you mean episode 4?
Yeah,
second episode. Yeah, second episode to the podcast.
Yeah. And I think that the reason that this is so strong of an episode, episode 4 specifically, is that you really need to see all the steps that could have been taken to prevent the war. That's one thing.
Yeah.
But you also need to see how it is heartbreaking for Alicent and Rhaenyra to be on opposite sides of this war after growing up best friends and having a lot in common.
Yep.
And just some simple lies, fibs, just don't invade my privacy, really puts a deep wound in this friendship that's going to echo through the whole Dance of the Dragons, I think.
Right.
So anyway.
The bruises, the wounds, however you want to describe it, they're starting to cut deeper and deeper with each little movement. And like you're saying, you can see the unintended weight of words or an action. Or if the other can see the perspective of the other person, they would totally understand and it would be fine. But it keeps adding up and they keep getting pushed further and further apart from each other, which hurts even more because these two women love each other, right? They're sisters in a greater sense than blood sisters could be.
Yeah,
because they're chosen.
It's tough. It's tough, and you see that Viserys makes these decisions that, as they go, he could have sidestepped so many of his problems.
Oh my God!
Had he married, I'm not saying he needed to marry her at 12, but had he become betrothed to Laena, as all of his advisors said, I can't believe that we're defending we should have him marry the 12-year-old. No, but you know what I mean.
I like the betrothal idea. That's actually a good way. Like 14 or 16,
betrothed to her or something. Until she was of legal age, I think that would have been a reasonable way for him to go about it. It would have kept the Valerians in check and all that. It would have, made the claim stronger. If he had more sureness to himself, if he had more gumption about Rhaenyra's claim and really put her to the front and made sure people knew it, and other than the swearing initially. And I think Rhaenyra hits the nail on the head here. At some point, she says to Alicent, "My father didn't name me heir. He rebuked Daemon, right? That's what he did."
It's a really good point. It's a really good line.
Yeah. And it's really tough. So, he takes Laena, the houses are joined, the political alliance is founded, and you don't really need a second one. So Rhaenyra can pick her spouse, and that would have been fine. And she probably would not have had, well, we'll save that later, but she wouldn't have had as many succession issues in her line. You have, if Daemon had been allowed to marry her here, again, we're defending father, uncle. Sorry. But so if Daemon had been able to marry her as he requests here, maybe she would have had some legitimate children with him, and that would have been a way to sidestep this whole war. But we're seeing all the things be put in place. Also, something that I didn't notice on my first watch that I noticed on rewatch is that they're really seeding this idea of Viserys's doubt of Rhaenyra, both publicly and privately, because he does eventually settle on I'm gonna defend you as heir in these episodes. He does that, but his private doubts to Alicent make what happens later even more plausible.
Right. Yep.
And it really does feel like that didn't come out of nowhere now,
Right.
If in private he's going I just don't know, was this the right choice? Then maybe he does change his mind later.
Got it. And maybe she's got a different footing or different positioning relative to what's going on. So she's not so much, Alicent that isn't so much willing to take up the opportunity to, place her son on the throne.
Right. Well, I think that's enough of hot takes, but let's get into the actual episode.
Sounds good.
In comparison to last episode, I thought last episode got very jumbled very quickly because we were just jumping around to different topics. So instead, I've gone by plot line rather than character group or whatever. So here we go. 3 years have passed since episode 2. In that time, Daemon and Corlys have been locked in a war with the Triarchy in the Steppe Zones.
Right.
Did you enjoy the crab feeder's sort of introduction in his grossness?
I did. I thought they set up a really interesting antagonist, not only for story and us as the audience antagonist, but for the realm and the kingdom. There were some great scenes. I loved seeing the ships passing through the stepstones and the catapults of fire, coming arcing in, and dragons flying around. All of that stuff was great. I don't know what's happened to me in in my older age, I cannot handle the some of the visceral aspects of it. Seeing the crab stuff was a little bit hard for me to watch. And but we talked about this a lot last week. Is that something that is a hallmark of the Song of Ice and Fire properties, that there is some visceral action, be it, nudity, be it sex, be it violence, be it, childbirthing.
In a way, the books can be even more violent, right? I mean, there's Lady Stoneheart never shows up in the Game of Thrones show, but Lady Stoneheart, do you know about this whole thing?
Trying to remember.
This is Catelyn Stark post zombification.
Right. Yeah. I remember that. And I remember reading and going that WTF, and then like gruesome. She never goes anywhere. Yeah.
And I just think that this universe is inherently violent and you just got to live with it. But I will say I really enjoyed, thank God, all hail, thank the gods for Prince Daemon, gets stepped on immediately.
Very Jurassic Park moment.
Stomped. It was great.
Yeah.
It was great.
Good dragon action, good dragon CGI, and all of that kind of stuff.
Also, they set up Daemon to be this sort of unsteady ally, right? Because Daemon is like, I hate Daemon, but also I'm going to write to his brother, but also, in secret and all that. So they really set up his sort of unsteady nature there.
Yeah. And I think there's, again, a lot of work being done in this episode to get us ready for what's coming.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
A good twist feels inevitable, right? When you go on rewatch. And this show did a great job of setting up the actions of characters episodes in advance.
Yeah.
And because of the way the show works, years in advance.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah. Of course, Viserys gets his first male descendant finally from his new queen, Alicent. To celebrate their son Aegon's second name day, they take all the nobles on a hunting trip.
Yeah, this is where I was like, okay. There was just something in because the production's the production. The carriages are going to be the carriages. The tents are going to be the tents. The costumes are going to be the costumes. But there's something that they do in the treatment of in post-production that kind of gives it a grain or a texture or something. And this just felt a little too hyper real. And I could kind of see the fact that a bunch of this stuff was just fake movie prop stuff. And maybe that's what it was that was bothering me. I don't know. There was something that was triggering me in this whole sequence. And then there was some wonky CGI later. So I don't know.
Are you troubled by iPhone face? Do you know what I mean by that?
iPhone face?
This is something that the kids say now.
Okay. I have an iPhone pinky.
When they're watching.
That's where my pinky is holding the bottom of my phone and it's developing a crook in it now.
Yeah. Oh, I know the iPhone pinky.
Yeah.
Look at every selfie on MySpace from when I was growing up. And, you have that claw hand that is holding the phone. Anyway, iPhone face is something the kids say on the TikToks and whatnot, where they say, this historical documentary, the actors, their faces look like they've seen an iPhone.
Okay.
like they just aren't believably from this era.
Right. Okay.
So they have iPhone face.
I see. All right.
That always makes me laugh.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Just really quickly on the segue of throwbacks to physical ailments holding things. When we had our Atari and we would have these sort of all-night Pac-Man marathons, you'd get a little divot in your hand. I'm sure it's the same with other controllers, but you would have this deep red divot in the just below your thumb there where you held the controller for 4 hours straight. So
nice. Yeah. So I will say I really did like this whole setup.
Okay.
I did enjoy a lot of it. I'm gonna go to the next bullet point because it's kind of the next main point of it, which is the part that was my favorite, which was Rhaenyra rejects the courtship of Jason Lannister and begins to question whether her father means to replace her as heir. She runs off with Sir Criston Cole, and the two are attacked by a boar and greeted by the White Hart, the symbol of royalty in Westeros before the Targaryens. So can we just appreciate the actor playing both Jason Lannister and his brother Tyland?
Is it the same actor?
Yeah,
I didn't realize that. Okay, funny. This guy, man, I don't know what was going. I think he's playing slightly drunk, but he's also very sort of cringy, slimy, and it's
Yeah.
perfect. It is so good. It's so light. You're just kind of not sure what to make of this guy, except that he's just ew.
Yeah. So Jason is a really interesting character. He's played by Jefferson Hull. So is his brother Tyland.
Mm-hmm.
And Tyland is on the small council, remember? Tyland is, I want to say, Master of Coin. I could be wrong. Wait, I have the show guide. I can find out now.
Show guide.
I can find the show guide.
Where are the
Where's
Lannisters?
Tyland
There's the
Lannister? Okay,
Lannisters.
he is Master of Ships,
Okay.
which is shocking. But anyway, he's Master of Ships, and Tyland is obviously on Team Green because he's on the Greens Council, but we don't know what Jason's going to do right now as of the end of season 1. So that's an exciting no faction on the show guide if you check out there.
Right.
But Jason, I love the way he's like, well, look, you're obviously going to be disinherited. So let's not get carried away here, Rhaenyra, with all our I have dragons here and dragons there. I could build you a dragon pit at Casterly Rock. You'll be fine.
And everybody who's making a proposal, who will make a proposal, this is a little running ahead a little bit, they're talking to her in entirely the wrong way about stuff that she cares nothing about.
Exactly.
She doesn't want easy days and what have you. She wants a different quality of life, and none of them are aware that their words are just falling on deaf ears, that their seed is falling on groundy stone or stony ground.
Right. Yeah, the suitors are not doing their best. I will say they're not sending their best, in the words of our former president.
They're not.
Yeah, and the way that I'm gonna get there in a second, but the way that Viserys hears all of the pitches for the matches is very funny too. But I want to talk first about her journey, Rhaenyra's journey with Criston Cole.
Yeah, this is the beginning of
the forest,
their tryst.
Into the woods.
Come with me.
And the boar, I think, is a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
This crazy thing, and I like that both of them play a part in killing it.
Right.
But go ahead.
It goes well. I was going to say the boar is a nice callback to Robert Baratheon.
Bobby B.
Yep.
Do you know about the Bobby B bot?
No, I do not.
Okay. In the Free Folk subreddit, which is the no rules Game of Thrones subreddit that freaked out with the Game of Thrones finale, it's a very funny subreddit.
Okay.
They have a Bobby B bot, so if you say Bobby B, it'll automatically reply with a Robert Baratheon quote like "God bless Bessie and her tits," and it'll always be in all caps. By the way,
God bless the internets. That is
bow to your king.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I love Bobby B bot. It's very funny. But anyway, enough of our Reddit shenanigans. Yes, I agree. That's a really good callback to Bobby B. And but my favorite part of this whole thing is this white heart thing, which I guess is not in the book.
Okay.
It's not in the book. Really interesting that Viserys, poorly kills a regular.
Oh my God. That whole scene of it was just very
left, buddy.
Yeah, it was it really highlighted how he's just not suited to be that guy. Right?
And he's not going to destroy the crown in a year, but he is going to make it die a slow and painful death.
Right. Which is the manifestation of that is his rot, of his body rotting away.
Yeah. Well, that and the way that he kind of lets these issues fester, like the stepstones and the issue of succession and his relationship with Daemon and his relationship with the Valerians. And he just lets so many things fester, and then they come back to bite him. And not even him, he kind of just lives and dies and forgets about it. But, his daughter is going to have to deal with all the aftermath of his bad decisions.
Exactly. And it was a great way to contrast this between her and her father, Rhaenyra and Viserys, with the fact that she sees the White Hart, or the White Hart reveals itself to her and not to him.
Yeah.
And then so that's the definitely signaling to us as the audience. It's starting to mess with our sense of allegiance, who should be the rightful ruler. And so when blows begin to be exchanged, you can say, well, Rhaenyra, the White Hart showed up for Rhaenyra, so she's got more legit claim in a way, right? There's little subtle signals that we're supposed to be picking up on.
Yeah, so I want to dig into that a little bit. So she doesn't kill the White Hart,
correct?
Right? She doesn't even go after it. Now, I could read that two ways, right? Like she was meant to see it and she respected the power. Or I think about, and again, I'm just going to say this now because I'm going to get into a little bit of late season spoilers because I want to make a comparison. We are going to, we said this in the first episode, but in case you're just joining us this episode, we do reference things later in season 1, but we're not going past that because we don't know, first of all. And we're not doing any book spoilers.
Right.
So anyway, light spoilers for the end. The whole her considering in the last episode, should I just abdicate to keep peace?
I don't remember that very clearly.
It's a moment. It's not long.
I mean, we're going to get there. Yeah.
It's this whole thing of, should I just let Aegon have the crown so that we don't have an all-out war here?
Right.
And I think that might be what this is alluding to too, right? Like I respect the institution. I respect duty. I respect what this means to the realm.
Right.
And she leaves the
Toranaga
alone and it runs away.
Okay. Right. So yeah, in that moment, she lets go, and that's it. Yeah. So that's an interesting thought to play with, whether she should have chased it or whether she should have let it go, because there's a nobility in letting it be, and having had that communion with it, and not imposing your will on those powers, but yet being in some sort of sympathy with them, some sort of relationship with them. Whereas what this society, sorry, I shouldn't say this world, but what I should say is this society of men demands is that nature be, conquered, and that the White Hart be taken. So it's almost like a conflict of philosophies in a way. Did she have a better way? Is there a better way that Rhaenyra could have brought? Whereas, what society is demanding is what
Our
Viserys
friends
does.
are going to write in and be like, she did the right thing, guys. Stop making her doubt it.
That's interesting, because if they had chased it down and killed it and brought it back, how would have the court seen her? Would that have been a powerful enough omen, so to speak, signs and portents to say that, she's worthy?
Wouldn't it have been so cool if she rides in and Kristen Cole's next to her carrying it and he just slaps it down right in front of the king? And she's like, yeah, I'll take
Daddy.
My crown now, buddy. You can retire.
Right. After your pathetic showing of having this thing roped, and man, that was just...
And I think this was a thing that we all discussed when we were watching this originally, but can we talk about the poop glove? Like, they are just passing around droppings of the White Hart at the beginning of this episode.
Yeah, sure.
And then right after that, Viserys like patting everybody on the back. He's like, hey, guys. He's like, your touchy uncle.
With his feet, with missing 2 fingers in the poop glove. Yeah.
Yeah. My God. All right. So speaking of Viserys, he gets super drunk and hears several pitches for Rhaenyra's hand before doubting his succession to Alicent. Otto and Hobart Hightower scheme.
This was kind of hard to watch, not in a bad way, not in a production bad way, but in a really feeling for the character of Viserys.
You're like, put it down.
He's got to sit up there in front of everybody by himself.
And he's mortified by his daughter's behavior.
Yeah. And he's just all alone up there when all he wants to do is be sitting around with some friends, telling some slightly off-color, jokes about this or that time happening, and to feel the company of others. I think they do from a storytelling standpoint, they do a really good job of showing us the sense of isolation that he feels from everyone. And part of what drives him to ultimately making bad decisions, because he's trying to make decisions that feel good and make everybody feel good around each other, rather than making the hard decisions that a ruler needs to make. But he's such a gregarious guy. Just to be sitting up there alone just was really, it was depressing. Frankly, it was just watching him getting drunk by himself.
Yeah. It's a lonely job being king, huh?
Completely.
Especially when your wife is Alicent Hightower, who is just not into you.
You don't think? I think they. I don't.
Let's
know.
talk about it when we get to the next episode.
Okay.
Let's talk about that scene.
Okay. Yeah.
And of course, we are let known that Hobart Hightower, who's the actual Lord of Old Town, he's just like right on board with the whole let's go make Aegon king. Let's make our blood king.
Right. I got to look up. Here's Hobart. Right. Yeah.
Hobart.
Hobart. And I think he's a very. They set up a very good one-dimensional character to represent the voice and the sense of the powers that be. The society as it is really well encapsulated with him. So that I think from a storytelling beat that works. We get the sensibility of the nobles, and then in episode 4 we'll get the sensibility of the common folk or the small folk.
Right.
So yeah, it works.
Right. Yeah, I do like that we get more common folk stuff than we do in Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Even though this is a show primarily about the royal family.
Actually, that reminds me, that was a note that I had that I forgot to mention earlier in hot takes, was that one of the things that I am enjoying in this season overall is getting these glimpses of the back of the house stuff, seeing the different servants and seeing the different scenes of them moving and coming and going. And you get a sense of life, a much broader slice of life, especially even in the Ren Fair scenes, we're seeing a lot more of what goes on. And that for some, I don't know. I felt a lack of that in Game of Thrones seasons for some reason. Not that it wasn't there.
I think the later seasons lacked it. I think the earlier seasons had some of it at least.
Yeah.
But later seasons were just totally defunct of it.
Right. Okay. So then that's not my own, because when I'm seeing these scenes, I'm like, oh, that's kind of refreshing. And I didn't know why I was feeling that. So maybe that makes sense.
Remember, we had hot pie in early Game of Thrones.
Yes.
Don't forget about hot pie.
Don't forget about hot pie.
And Gendry, still rowing. All right, Daemon Valerian's plea to the crown leads Viserys to send aid to the Stepstones. Before the aid can get there, Daemon ambushes and kills the crab feeder.
So it's the aid that's coming that spurs Daemon to action.
Because he's like, I'm not losing credit for this.
Exactly.
It's the night before the group project is due. And you want to come and you want to write the conclusion paragraph and put your name on it. No. I'm finishing the project myself, and the teacher's going to know it.
And it just goes to this wounded ego thing that Daemon carries around. He can't play nice with other kids. He can't be part of the group. He can't accept the help. He would still be feted as a conquering hero when he returns, right? Good job and, all that kind of stuff, but he just can't do it. He can't accept it. His ego is malformed in that way.
But Daemon also lives for the drama.
Totally.
And
he's a complete
he just wants, like, there's a reason he doesn't deny when he gets called out about his behavior with Rhaenyra in the next episode. There's a reason he doesn't deny it. It's because he lives for the drama. He loves it.
Yeah. And yet every time he reaches out for that drama and takes a big drink of it, it leaves him more and more unsatisfied. He's trying to fill a hole in him that can never be filled.
It does feel like by the end of the season he calms down.
Yeah. right?
which is interesting and kind of makes sense and tracks with like an emotional maturity kind of thing.
Right. He has had to excise this whatever to the point where he realizes, oh, I'm just not going to get any more joy of this. So I might as well stop
Yep.
grinding myself against it.
Yep.
The,
can I just also say,
please.
The crab feeder absolutely has grayscale.
Yeah. That was always in my head canon. I don't ever remember hearing what the official.
They did eventually confirm it, but I'm like, how does Daemon not have grayscale after bisecting this guy?
Yeah, I don't know. I think during the season, the original airing of the season, I was waiting for that to occur.
Yeah, me too.
Constantly. That was always in the back of my mind.
There are instances of like, I guess like I was looking this up earlier because I was very confused about it. And I guess there are instances of sort of dormant grayscale that isn't as contagious, like Shireen in Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I was thinking of what's his name's daughter on Dragonstone.
Yeah, that's Shireen.
Shireen, yeah, right.
Yep.
There was a lot of interaction with her, and she wasn't contagious.
Right.
Were you at all let down with the way the crab feeder storyline resolved?
No, I loved it. I loved him coming out with like the whole bisected crab feeder. I thought that was good. I think it was a really good excuse to give us some action without going too fast into the dance.
Okay.
Were you not?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I was mixed. I get it. I didn't. It's not that I didn't enjoy it, but there was just there was something slightly missing for me. That
well, don't forget that the Stepstones plotline is not done.
Okay.
We got some more coming next episode.
Well, I meant specifically with the crab feeder though himself, and maybe that sort of final battle. Okay, maybe it's just because we're so trained and fed on a certain arc to the way this would normally go, and to see no fight scene between Daemon and the crab feeder, even a couple of blows, or is this guy just not that good? I mean, Daemon is just that good.
I think the point was he was never that strong on his own.
The crab feeder.
His whole thing was he was great. Yeah, the crab feeder. He was just great at guerrilla tactics.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I mean, so I was
a
actually thinking about this last
than
time because remember we had this debate about could you do it with a dragon quickly? Could you win quickly if you started early? I was thinking about the Targaryens and the limitations of their dragons, and I've been reading Fire and Blood.
Okay.
I'm not up to the Dance of the Dragons, so don't think I'm trying to spoil anything here. But I'm reading, the early parts, and
we're going to be suspect of you, John. Now,
okay. It took Aegon like forever, and he didn't even really do it. It took the Targaryens forever to conquer Dorne because they would go into hiding. All their leaders would go into hiding.
Okay.
Before the Targaryens could even get there.
Okay.
And if they can't find you, then Dragonfire does nothing.
Sure. Yeah.
And so I do think that the crab feeder was at an advantage here. And it took Daemon committing kind of a war crime by doing a fake surrender.
Sure, right. Ruse de guerre.
Yep. Which, by the way, they have Anakin and Obi-Wan do all the time in the Clone Wars, and there's like no problem with it. But all right, anyway, enough Star Wars.
Well, who's going to complain when you're the victor, right?
Trickery, yeah. It takes him doing some trickery to really get anything moving on this war and get to the crab feeder.
So, and I think that was part of my point when we had watched episode 1 and 2, and I was satisfied in the resolution of that part of the storyline, was that they were actually using stratagem and tactics. It's like, okay, you've got a lot of smart people and you've got some pretty powerful weapons. Are you thinking about using them in clever and innovative ways? Obviously, the crab feeder has got you figured out and understands the dance of the dragon, right? Dragon comes, we run inside, dragon flies off, we run outside. And
they're very loud.
We do this whole thing, and we got it worked out. We got plenty of provisions. We are well laid in with our stores, and so we can wait out a siege, no problem, et cetera, et cetera. And pretty quickly, Daemon, came up with a plan. And I don't know how much the rest of everybody else was involved in that plan. Was Rhaenyra, because Rhaenyra seemed to have some thoughts
Yeah,
on the
that's a
matter.
good question. Did he actually have like the leave of Daemon to do that, or was that just freestyling?
Because it worked, right?
Oh yeah, I don't think they succeed without Laenor keeping all the archers off of Daemon.
Exactly. And that's and actually having a battle plan, actually having a bit of a strategy. You've been toe to toe, you've been locked in this fight with these people. You guys know each other's strengths and weaknesses and actions and reactions pretty well at this point. So now you got to figure out, how do you change up the game? How do you change the dynamic? And they did it. And they did it pretty quickly once they made up their mind to think strategically. And so I don't, that's where I was thinking earlier on. Okay, so the crab feeder suspects that you're going to send dragon. If you send the dragon right away, is he fully prepared? Can you catch him off guard?
I mean, he's pretty far off. You could see the dragon far off. So
no, but I'm saying
be kind of prepared to like at least a crab feeder hide. How long did it take us to find, Osama bin Laden? We're the most powerful military in the world in the US. It took us how long? And he's sitting there playing Animal Crossing Wild World. I don't know if you know about that, but he had this like really intense save of Animal Crossing Wild World.
I did not know that.
And people want it so badly, but it's locked up at the Pentagon.
But he was okay.
They want to see what bin Laden was doing
right,
in Animal Crossing.
At what level, he was at. Yeah. My point is that happened after the whole thing, and he was intentionally hiding, and he had a lot of security, a lot of OPSEC, as the kids say, to be able to successfully hide. If to that, there was a lot of intelligence about where they were and who then they went dark, to execute their plan. So, if they had dealt with it sooner, before, while the crab feeder was getting early. So that's what I'm saying is that I think there was an opportunity.
I don't believe you.
Earlier on.
Also, you can't use the white flag strategy when you just landed. Oh yeah, we just got here, but you're just so tough. Oh, we're gonna just plant the white flag.
I'm not saying
don't look around.
The white flag. I'm saying use your tools cleverly. So it's like, okay, the archers are going to run it. There's a bunch of caves, do some intel. Oh, there's a bunch of caves there. Oh, okay, they'll probably run in when the dragon comes. Okay, so how do we keep the archers out, and how do we get the dragon in to attack? I'm just saying, think about it. There's a creative solutions that they could have employed. Right. Instead of just being brute force and going for it.
It does seem like they were doing traditional. It's kind of like, this is the traditional wisdom. You Brits who listen here, this is the traditional wisdom we get taught in American school, is that the Brits were too locked into their formations and their formal battle tactics. And Washington's like, no, we're attacking at night on Christmas. These guerrilla tactics. And that's what won the American Revolution. That's what we're taught. You can argue with us all you want.
Well, there's another good example with Charge of the Light Horse. I believe it's the Charge of the Light Horseman. Is it in World War I, an Anzac unit? Normally, the mounted troops would dismount and assault by foot. They would just use the cavalry to move them to place to place. And instead, I'm trying to remember, there's a great movie about it, and I shared it with Duve, and Duve will probably write in. I could Google for it right now, but it'd take too much time to think about it. Anyway, what they did was, rather than they attacked from a direction that they weren't expecting, right? They went around the long way around, then they queued themselves up, and they put themselves right on the edge, like they didn't have enough water and supplies if the attack wasn't successful, because they were on the far side of their supply lines and attacking from the opposite direction. And then rather than dismounting and walking up or crawling up and being hit by artillery and machine gun, they charged on horseback and they overran the guns. The guns couldn't, the machine guns and artillery couldn't adjust fire fast enough to compensate for the speed, because they weren't expecting it. So they used an innovative strategy. They thought about it and they tried something new. And that's what I'm saying with the dragons is, do something different, not expected.
I guess. I think it goes both ways, though. I do think it goes both ways. I think the crab feeder had enough of a base by the time they even heard about it. They were like, this guy's becoming a problem. It's not like he just showed up one day.
And that's why But then what I'm saying is we're so
You're trying to play 3D chess here. All right, I'm moving
in
on.
In a made up world and a made up
5D
story where
chess
it's
with dragons.
in a made up world that's already written.
Viserys reaffirms his commitment to Rhaenyra as heir and convinces her to search for a husband.
This was a good scene, I think.
Especially because he's kind of honest with her for a minute. He goes, I did waver for a minute.
Yeah.
But I swear to you on your mother's life, I will defend your claim.
And then he says, do like I did and go find love. Go find somebody who makes your heart happy. I forget what the line is exactly.
It had that vibe.
Yes.
Love.
It was like a raw, honest moment between father and daughter, between king and heir. And it played really well. And again, Paddy Considine is just awesome. And Millie,
he's great.
Is
I'm
great
gonna miss
him
this season.
Completely.
Gonna miss him.
And Millie Alcock and just her expressions and her little kid face and the kind of way that she's kind of pouty but fierce and just they had great chemistry.
They did. They felt like father and daughter.
And for a moment I thought, okay, this is going to be cool. Like they're getting somewhere, and then Sarah just keeps fucking it up. Pardon my French.
So does Rhaenyra. To be fair, Rhaenyra did not take that whole. Let's take a break. When we get back, we will get into the next episode. We'll be right back with more House of the Dragon. And we're back with more House of the Dragon. All right, so let's get into episode 4 now that we've been silly about our dragon 5D chess enough. Rhaenyra hears suitors on her courtship tour of Westeros before a brawl at Storm's End causes her to cut her tour short.
This was a lot of fun. When you hear the stab and you turn around and then the camera turns around and you realize it was the jerk face guy that got it. You're like, oh
yeah,
cool.
the kid stabbed him. You're like, damn.
You're like, go
good
kid.
for him.
Yeah,
good for him.
He's doing his best up there, right? He's making his pitch.
Most.
And
you see, he studied guerrilla tactics.
Yeah, there you go.
And he said, hey, you weren't expecting the kid to have a blade.
That's right. This is all pretty hilarious, and she is not taking her duties seriously, and she's actually treating some people pretty roughly, and that's not a good look. So it's this. So now I'm on what's his name's side, her father's side. Yeah, his God, my brain is.
Aegon the Second is the oldest brother. That would be the alternative heir.
Well, no, I'm talking Viserys. Viserys. Okay. I'm on Viserys' side in his estimation of Rhaenyra, that she's not mature or ready enough to take on these duties and to actually take this job seriously. Because by any standards, the way that she's reacting while listening to these suitors is pretty disrespectful. Yes, granted, some of them are utterly ridiculous, but these are your bannermen. You're going to rely on them. You need them. You need to have some decorum at court and treat people in these ways that doesn't shame them.
I did enjoy her whole thing of, oh, did you think my grandma was hot? Did you find my grandma hot? Thank you so much for your judgment there.
Yeah. Pretty hilarious.
Oh boy. It's funny. I was just actually reading the chapters on Alicent, which is the grandma that he said, hey, your grandma was so hot. She and Jaehaerys married for love, even though they were brother and sister, and they like snuck off to get married. It was like a whole thing, and they wanted Jaehaerys to marry for political reasons, and he was like, no, sis or bust. And yeah, so it's a whole thing. Now this is 3 generations marrying for love in a row.
And
was
look
that
what
the
it
right
gets
thing
you.
for everybody?
Look what it gets you. The heart wants what the heart wants. The heart wants. Is that the right quote? No, that's not. There's something wrong with the quote. Anyway, that is neither here nor there.
Well, anyway, Rhaenyra is not into these players. Daemon returns to King's Landing as King of the Narrow Sea, but immediately gives his throne to Viserys, leading the
Crown.
brothers to reunite.
Yeah.
There is only one crown. There's only one king, and that is you, brother. And like I said, he lives for the drama.
Yeah, he really does. I loved his entrance with his hair cut short, and he's certainly. I mean, give it to the actor
Matt Smith.
Yeah, thank you. I'm really having a brain slowdown.
You gotta have Matt Smith. I mean, Doctor Who coming back soon.
He is a master of this role. He just owns this character so well. Everything from the fact that he might need a little bit of four hymns, all the way through to, playing the petulant brother, to playing actually a badass fighter. There's all these different aspects to him, and Matt Smith just gets in there in every sort of nook and cranny and knows how to just really squeeze the drama out of Daemon.
I mean, I knew he'd be good as Daemon because in Doctor Who, I mean, he more than any other person who's played the Doctor, and he's not even my Doctor. My Doctor is David Tennant, but I love Matt Smith's era because he can go from playful to heartbreaking and heart-wrenching, really into the drama, to manic and then really scary at some point. He delivers these lines in Doctor Who in front of like a group of aliens that make you take him so seriously, where he goes, "Good men don't need rules. Today is the day. Today is not the day to learn why I have so many." Great line. He just delivers them. He delivers the crap out of them. Plus, of course, because of the nature of Doctor Who, you've got a million times where there's like an evil clone of him or a robot controlling him.
So he gets
something.
to play against his type.
Yeah. So he gets to play all these different kinds of things.
And it's campy because it's Doctor Who, so you get to really swing wide in your performances. You get to really push the boundaries. And so when that makes you stronger, so when you get in a much more tightly controlled role like this, you can really play that tension of there's this, that bursting tension of that electricity and energy that Daemon has, but it's got to be under control in a particular way.
I'm so glad that he got to do that stretching and get this publicity.
Completely.
At 27, he started playing the Doctor.
Yeah.
He was the youngest person to ever have the role. And I'm so glad that his career has gone places because he's an excellent actor.
Quick segue. Are you excited for the new season of
I'm
Doctor Who?
Okay. I'm so hyped. They're meeting the Beatles this season. It's in the trailer.
Fun. And hopefully you and Alicia are going to do a little coverage, I think.
We're doing some coverage. Okay. I know we were trying to figure out if we wanted to do full coverage, if we want to do partial. I think we're going to do about 3 episodes total, 3 podcasts total. On
That'd be good.
Yeah.
Given the fact that we're in this coming up into this crunch of June, that's not bad. If you could get a few in there.
Yep.
And I think you were saying it's kind of an underserved market.
It is an underserved market in the US especially.
In the podcast world too.
Yep.
So cool.
All right. So that night, Daemon sneaks Rhaenyra out of the Red Keep, where she sees a play mocking her claim. He then brings her to a brothel, and the two get steamy before Daemon abandons her. I didn't write in here, but you have this cross editing between Rhaenyra and Daemon actually having a really good time in this thing that's really
and Alicent
forbidden,
not.
And then Alicent sitting there dead-eyed.
Yeah,
just limp.
I actually have that in one of my general notes as well. Is the way that this episode, there's so many mirroring scenes, and it's really great. And we got that in episode 1 too, right? Between the tourney nights and the birthing bed and stuff like that. So it does work as a great storytelling device. And then to have Alicent there, the whole the king requests your presence, and she's just like,
the hour is late.
Yeah.
Yes, Your Grace. It breaks your heart though. Really, she is clearly it's not something she wants to do. And there's also this scene, we didn't really talk about it, but it's in the beginning of this episode where she and Rhaenyra sit down and are like, hey, it's been a while. And Rhaenyra kind of talks about, I don't want to just be passed around as some, birthing machine. And Alicent's sitting there pregnant
I am
with like a child already, and it's not good. It's not good. She's like, this is what I am. You know, I serve your dad actually.
and the
Terrible.
realm, right? I'm taking on the role of the queen and
Right.
trying to propagate the line. It calls back for me. Alicent calls back for me to some of what we got with Sansa, where she was very much enamored with knights and ladies and court and the sort of the romance of all of that, you know, great society stuff, and where Rhaenyra is like, I need a sword and a dragon and maybe a few men-at-arms, and we're gonna go out and have some fun.
Yeah.
And Allison's like, oh no, I want to learn about the histories and I want to do, you know, all of this other stuff. They just have these different expressions for who they are.
I think to a lesser degree than Sansa, maybe just because of age.
Totally, but
and
it
because
just
she
reminds
grew up
me.
in court, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so she knows it, but it just calls back to that.
Yeah,
that sensibility.
I get what you're putting down. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Not the Sansa innocence about it, but the fact that that's the world she wants to inhabit. That's the world that interests her. Like, I mean, my wife and I are watching our daughter, and she's getting into fashion and makeup and music in a way that neither my wife or I ever were. And so we're like, this is weird. We did not put this. We did not create an environment where this was promoted or encouraged. But yet this individual is wanting to go for it in this way.
It's
and
like
so
a real person.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And we have to kind of go for it. So like if your thing is like, oh, court and tapestries and books and histories and, you know, dresses and whatever, that's what you want. You know, Rhaenyra was like, nah, man, I want a dragon and some, you know, some good times. I want some adventure. I want to be out in the world doing adventuring.
Right.
And I noticed that there were a couple of times when when Alicent looks at Rhaenyra like, what are you talking about? That sounds like not fun at all. And again, it's that separation as the two friends start to diverge as they're adults, moving further apart.
And I have plenty of friends that are like into stuff that I'm not at all into.
Yes.
And that's totally fine. But they're so young and kind of inexperienced with this, and having that tension of being mother-in-law and daughter-in-law.
Exactly.
Not rather stepmother and stepdaughter.
Right.
I mean, my God, it's a bit of a wrench in the whole friendship machine.
Yeah. But then back to Alicent and her time with her king, they make it very apparent to Viserys's overall body condition. We see sores on his back, and you're just like the last.
I was watching
thing
with my wife, and she said she's banging a corpse.
Exactly,
like, it's not great.
It's not great. And I think Alicent does have genuine. I think there's a genuine love and affection there, but she's a young woman, and it's just kind of a bummer because he's an old man, and they're just not in the same place in life. And they can't enjoy each other in that way, fully in that way. And
I think she wanted to have like a cup of coffee with Grandpa Viserys, not bang Grandpa Viserys.
Exactly. And she clearly isn't enjoying being a mother at times. She's holding the babies and she's just like, oh dear God, get this thing off, away from me.
Right.
She's very put upon with colicky children.
In fairness, she is very, very pregnant. And Viserys, I'm sure, has picked up his son like 3 times.
Right, exactly. And she does have a whole bunch
of the kind of guy who's like, I'll talk to him when he's 5.
Right. and to be fair, she's got a lot of help where a lot of families these days do not.
Right.
And have to do more. Anyway.
Yeah, we get another instance, is the second one, of impotent Daemon, which just like disappears as a trope throughout the season.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what happens with that.
Well, he finally got his For Him subscription fulfilled.
Oh my God. Oh my God. It's just hymns.
Was that?
It's just hymns.
It was just hymns? Oh, I thought it was For Hymns.
See, that's how I know you're not a millennial, because you're not getting advertised these 24/7.
They're advertising me. This is for listeners, if you're not subscriber on our second podcast, our second breakfast podcast, which is our Patreon exclusive, John and I were laughing about all of the ads that are on Hulu for the millennials as they're getting older and
It's horrible.
and need
I hate
medications.
it. I hate it. Get them off my For You page.
Oh man. I think it's an interesting note that they play with Daemon's is it psychological? Is it physiological? Is it an actual medical treatment, or is it this mental thing that he's all churned up inside?
I think it is mental because it goes away, and I don't see any health changes happening for him, you know?
Right, yeah. The maesters aren't making him any tea. Here you are, my lord, a special tea.
We'll get to that.
Yes. And it's interesting, though, because, and I think we talked about this last episode, the show really makes you examine and root for people that you don't want to root for, or be mad at people you don't want to be mad at.
Mm-hmm.
And in this moment, wait a minute, does Daemon actually have is there a shred of morality here, or a sense of values that maybe this isn't the best idea and something's holding him back from following through?
I don't think so. I think he just couldn't get it up.
No, that's what I'm saying is that there's an inner conflict that is not allowing him to be fully in the moment.
His penis took an ethics course. What are you talking about?
I'm talking about psychological, about his psychology.
No. I think he's insecure about his whole relationship with everybody in his family.
Sure. Yeah.
I think that's really what it is. I don't think it's wrong to have sex with my niece because he wants to marry his niece. He asks for that in the next scene.
He does.
Anyway, and especially with the Targaryens, like literally his parents were brother and sister.
Right.
That's not true. Is that true? I don't think so.
Okay.
Now I got to look it up.
Don't
Daemon
at John,
Targaryen
please. He's going to look it up.
His grandparents, I think, were brother and sister. Let's see. All right. His parents, his parents were Balon Targaryen and Alyssa Targaryen. Let's see.
This goes a little too far out the scope of our show guide.
We're good. We're good. Okay. His grandparents were siblings. So anyway, the point is, and his parents were siblings too. So we're, he's even less, like, it's less weird for him because he's like, I'm the double product of incest, the triple really, because he had,
Viserys is
before him.
Not at all into this Targaryen sort of birthright societal,
Well, that and also I think it's more than that. I think it's, if this were like Rhaenyra's brother asking, I think there's a possibility Viserys like, all right, that's within the tradition of our house.
Mm-hmm.
But this is her uncle who knew her as a baby.
Mm-hmm.
That's gross.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think there's an argument that Daemon groomed her.
Yeah.
I mean, look, he's the cool uncle. He's always bringing gifts for her.
Well,
he's sensually putting on the necklaces.
I was going to say the writers signal that very clearly with the necklace scene.
They have their secret Valyrian language that they speak in front of others. And I just think that there's definitely an argument for grooming here.
Can we just go back to lauding both Amelia Alcock and Matt Smith?
One day you'll remember his name. He has like the easiest name too.
I was close. They're acting while they're speaking Valyrian in this tense scene where they're having this back and forth in the Godswood or in the little it was just so. Valyrian is it's a made up language. It's translated onto paper. The actors not only have to learn. Some actors will just learn the sounds of something and not actually act or understand the meaning of it and just sort of pretend. I don't know where their process is in Valyrian and how fluent and whether they just learn their lines or what, but I just felt that they were they were thinking and feeling. Those characters were thinking and emoting in Valyrian. And so to do that job as an actor, so good. So good.
Yeah, this show is keeping the conlang people employed.
Totally.
Conlanging, if you don't know, if you didn't listen to our Second Age podcast almost 2 years ago, is the art of creating and adapting fake languages for media. I'm actually going to be talking about it in the next Shire Side Chats episode. I've already outlined it. I'm kind of just pulling a lot of notes from that previous philology episode we did on Tolkien, but
nice.
Yeah, it's a cool thing. And I know George never wrote a full language for Valyrian or for Dothraki or any of these languages in his books.
But the TV show people commissioned that.
Well, it's not like they're writing a whole language. They're basically like, okay, we need
to have the root of the
workable
language.
vocabulary.
Yeah.
And then we will work on specific phrases we need.
And they did, Goyer did that for Foundation as well in season 1.
Yep.
They had to come up with a couple languages and stuff. So what did you make of just being out in town at night in the streets and
out on the town?
Having Rhaenyra see, how the small folk, view her and her claim.
Humbling. She's like, because I think she says right before this, right? Like, oh, it doesn't matter what the small folk want. My dad's the king. He's going to make me queen. And that's going to be that. And you see right here that they're like, we want Aegon.
Yeah.
Like he's the people's
he's
king.
The boy. Yeah.
Right now. Yeah. Just because he's a boy, he's a 2-year-old, and they'd rather have him than her.
I did love Rhaenyra's look on her face when she finds the secret door. She's like, oh, damn, this thing here was the whole time? I didn't know about this? Like, what the hell?
Yeah, it's funny that the Red Keep, it's actually a tragic story. The Red Keep was built, over a couple generations of Targaryens.
Right.
And because they were based in Dragonstone, then they had the Aegon Fort. And the Red Keep had like a lot of secret passageways. And so when it was done being built, Maegor the Cruel, can you guess what he did? He threw a 3-day feast for the builders, and then he had them all killed.
Right. All the secrets to die.
Yep. He was like, you guys enjoy yourself for these 3 days. And then everyone dies so that only I know where the secret passages
Makes the Red Wedding seem like a picnic.
Yep.
Right. So, Kristen Cole,
the man of the hour. Boy, back at her chambers, Rhaenyra seduces Sir Kristen Cole when she finds him guarding her door.
Yeah, with all that sort of pent-up energy from being out on the town and being intimate with her uncle. And
she was ready to clown.
Yeah. And she had a shine on Sir Kristen Cole from the beginning. I mean, she picked him, obviously. I thought it was a good tactical sense. Hey, he's got actual combat experience, so he knows how to handle himself under, difficult circumstances. But maybe he's kind of hot. He's not, me personally. Sir Kristen Cole isn't necessarily my type, but I could see where, she's going with this.
She's like, look, most of the time they just stand there next to me. Who am I to not want nice art on the wall? I want to select the painting I want.
He folds pretty easily.
Well, does he? So that's my question. Is he kind of resist for a minute? And when they're undressing him, I'm like, people say like, oh, well, cheating, when you cheat on your partner, it's just not like a single mistake. It's like a series of bad decisions. And I'm like, how many bad decisions are there here with this amount of armor and lacing?
That's a really
they did
good
a
point.
really good job showing like, this is taking like 30 minutes to undress everybody. And they have had time to cool off from this.
Mm-hmm. Wait, I got to get this buckle. I can't quite get it. Wait, move over a little bit to the left while I pull on the strap. And I mean, it takes a team of pages, an hour to, get him armored up.
How does he get back in his armor afterwards? Or
that's a really good question.
And
get back out on
clenching
duty?
His butt cheeks back to his room.
Because he's got it. Well, he's got it. What if somebody comes by? What if there's a patrol? Like, is anybody checking on him? What if he's got to stand there all night? Doesn't he need a quick break every once in a while? Isn't somebody going to come? Yeah. Anyway, it doesn't matter. That's neither here.
No, they wear cups. They got cups in there.
I don't want to know.
I'm just kidding. I'm just making it up. I'm just making it up. But yeah, I do think he was a little bit hesitant, but at the same time, guy had a long time to think about it in between the first kiss and when they actually did the deed.
It makes a workplace romance situation. It really highlights those. Like when he walks in the morning and she's like, "Oh, hey, why don't you, come out?" And he's like, "I gotta work.
Right.
The queen wants you. This is gonna be weird." It got weird.
That and I mean, this is an awkward situation all around. It's just gonna be really bad because Kristen Cole, I mean, he's now I think that this highlights the problem with celibacy oaths.
Yes, right.
Especially unnecessary ones. Like, this is totally unnecessary.
It kind of is.
I think that the reason given is we want them to
devotion.
Complete devotion. They don't want the Kingsguard to be thinking, "Oh, I have a wife and kids at home to take care of."
Or I can't wait till I get off.
If I have to lay my life down for the king, then that's just me suffering.
Right. Or I can't wait to go off duty so I can, get into town to see my mistress or what have you. Yeah.
Right.
Singular focus.
But like, people have needs and they're going to find them somewhere. And maybe it's with the princess.
Right. Especially with the princess.
Yeah.
And it's the whole arc of this season, of this whole show, not just the season, but this whole show pivots on this one night and this one thing of Rhaenyra sneaking out with Daemon. Right?
Yeah,
so
really
much goes wrong from this point.
All just because she's seen. And Rhaenyra makes a great point later that we can dive into now a little bit.
Well, not even that she. Yeah, I guess it is that she's. You're right, because if nobody had seen them, nothing would have happened. They would have.
Yeah.
Kristen Cole and her would have had a weird workplace, awkwardness, but it would have never spun out of.
Sitcom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah. I'm trying to do the Seinfeld.
I know. I wasn't quick enough to get it this time.
Okay.
But yeah, it's really tough. And later, Rhaenyra says, if I were a man, I could have bedded 1 million whores and nobody would have cared. And I'm using whore because that's the word that she uses. Don't at me.
Well, in Viserys, doesn't even Viserys and Daemon talk about, oh yeah, when we were young, we used to roll through the streets and,
But but Viserys rightly says, but you weren't born a man.
Right.
And so you have to deal with this. And it's a really interesting gender dynamic there, right? It's like, he's saying, like, I know it's unfair. That's just the way it is right now. And you and I need to play within those rules.
Right. We can't change it.
Right. Which they can over time. But I mean, him naming her heir is a step in the right direction, right?
Having only the vague memories from watching it the first time, a couple of years ago to now, I kept wondering, I was like, wait, do they do a thing where they check her, to make sure that she's still a maiden or not? I was like, I really hope they don't.
Do that.
No, they don't. They didn't. But I was just like, oh, that's going to, because in another story, in another, place, they could have done that. And that was just like, oh man, even more grosser.
Which, by the way, if you're a man listening to this and you think that that's a real thing, it's not. The whole hymen thing is not a real way to measure, if someone has had sex or not. To stop talking about it. Stop.
Well, it gets propagated in these stories like this. Right?
I know.
So,
but not this one. You're the one who brought it into this one.
I did. See, there you go. All right, moving on.
The next day, Otto Hightower tells the king that his spies saw Rhaenyra and Daemon in a brothel, and Alicent overhears. Alicent confronts Rhaenyra, who denies doing anything except going out with Daemon.
So,
and she swears on her mother's life, the same as Viserys swears to defend her claim.
Mm-hmm. So, and nobody's really in the right here. Nobody's really in the right here. I was going to say wrong, but
Alicent needs to mind her own business.
She does.
But also, Rhaenyra should not be swearing on her mother's grave.
No, nor should Alicent really be sort of all worked out. Okay, granted, she's a queen, and I get it. We've got to maintain your image here. There's a public perception thing here, but I think Alicent is truly offended by the thought.
Oh, she's a prude.
Of this.
Absolute prude.
Completely.
She got Hall Monitor vibes.
Yeah. And if she just would mind herself a little bit more, granted, she's the queen. She's like, okay, I'm the queen. We have a perception thing that we got to deal with.
Alicent would be an RA at the Citadel.
She really.
Let's
really
just
is.
be honest.
Yeah. And then we have the white worm.
The white worm.
The little birds. We don't have little birds. We have little. I don't know. What do we have? Where is in the show guide? Where
Miss
is?
Arya.
Yes. Where is she?
She's at the top of the no faction.
Okay. There she is. Oh yeah, right there. I was looking in the wrong spot. Yep.
Also known as the white worm. See that we have aliases.
There it is
in this too.
Yeah. So she is. What game is she playing here? I can't remember how her story plays out in the overall.
She basically just is like, I am tired of selling my body. I am going to instead open my own shop, and I'm going to be a trader of information.
Right.
Because people are a lot freer in brothels, aren't they? Daemon and Rhaenyra.
And there's power there. There's power and money there.
Yep. All right. So next day, Viserys kicks the crap out of his brother. Daemon does not deny his doings with Rhaenyra, but asks Viserys to wed them together. Viserys then banishes Daemon to Runestone. For the second time, may I add.
Yes.
He still hasn't been there. It's been 3 years.
He clearly isn't interested in living in the Vale.
No.
Not by any means.
Which we'll see next episode.
Yeah. This whole scene was pretty good.
I loved Viserys kicking him because it felt so complex. It felt like such a complex character moment because this guy is weak. He can't stand up to anybody except his little brother who probably did something sexual with his daughter. He's like, that's it. You mess with my daughter, I'm going to fuck you up.
Right.
And I feel that. You know what I mean?
And it's complex because it's not only family relations, but it's also politics of the realm. Right. You know, that he's on this mission to get Rhaenyra wed. And if that is, if there's a perception among people that she's been with her uncle, everybody's going to run away. Nobody's going to want to be married to her. So,
Well,
and I think Daemon knows that. And so he says, like, give her to me. Let's do this.
Here's the thing. I'm not saying that it actually devalues a woman to have had sex. I'm absolutely not saying that. But
in this world,
using this argument that they're having, this is like Daemon, like throwing like a prime rib on the floor and saying, I'll take that as is for free.
Yeah, he's fine with it.
You know, he's just like, I've damaged the goods and now I'll take them off your hands.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep.
And is there, that's a good point. Is there not some poor stratagem at play there?
It could be. It could be that he's trying to get Viserys to the point where he has to give her to Daemon.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But I think Rhaenyra would be into it. If Viserys said, go marry your uncle, she'd be like, oh yeah, I'm into that.
Do you think, what's the attraction for Daemon towards Rhaenyra?
Ooh, good question. I do think she's charming. Like, she's legitimately charming. And she's a fierce dragon rider. I wonder if there is a truth to what Viserys says to him, which is, you don't lust for my daughter, you lust for my crown.
That's also true. I think both things can be true here.
Right.
I think there can be two things that are true in that.
And the Targaryens really do like fetishize incest.
Right.
It's a thing.
Right.
Like, they're all into that. Except Viserys.
Right, except for Viserys. So, like, get with the program. Although
Viserys still marries somebody of Targaryen blood. It's not like he's marrying out of the family.
It's interesting. Just wondering, like, what is it that's motivating Daemon towards Rhaenyra here? Is it just family lore thing, or is he really truly attracted to her in a genuine way, or is it all just a game to him? Yeah, I think it's interesting.
I don't know. I think later he's legitimately attracted to her.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know here. It is tough to judge. Viserys confronts Rhaenyra, who denies the allegations, but understands the bad optics. She agrees to marry her cousin Laenor Velaryon in exchange for Viserys sending away Otto. as Rhaenyra believes him to be a manipulator. Viserys then sends Otto away, calling his judgment compromised.
Was the downfall, the short-term downfall of Otto so delicious? I kind of enjoyed it.
The problem is
He's so
he's
gross.
coming back.
Yeah, we do, but he's just so gross. So I just kind
gross.
of I kind
My
of like
lord,
seeing him.
I've only ever lived to serve.
Yeah, he's just like, no, dude, you're sus. You are big sus energy.
Yep.
And I think Otto, in his smugness about, and I think this is where at least Viserys picked up on it. You know, Otto is thinking, oh, well, I'll just run to the king with this hot, salacious, juicy news. And clearly, like, it's so terrible that, you know, it's got to blow up on Rhaenyra, and then Alicent can, you know, side. He's so smug with this piece of knowledge that he doesn't actually pause and think, okay, what are the 3 or 4 different ways that this could go? And, you know, he's not actually plotting anything out. He's just gleeful to share this, you know, juicy bit of information.
Right.
So he completely, you know, from a hand of the king kind of way, in a you know, court intrigue kind of way, completely screws this up. Completely.
Well, that, but I also think that he started to get cocky and overplay his hand. Whereas,
that's what I'm saying.
Remember last episode, last podcast, we said he never asks the king for anything. Well, what happens in episode 3 is that he goes, "You should wed Aegon to Rhaenyra. Wed them."
Right.
Like he automatically starts asking things now that he's got, you know, the grandson in common.
Right. He's got a little bit more leverage, a little bit more power. Yeah.
Right. So that he just starts to overplay his hand, and he sets himself up to be taken down by Rhaenyra.
Well, and it's not even like Rhaenyra was angling for him from the beginning. It was a stupid play completely.
Yep.
So I'm happy he got his.
For now.
I know.
Short-lived. Give them a moment for pity's sake.
Yeah.
That night, Viserys sends Grand Maester Mellos with a cup of moon tea to prevent Rhaenyra from getting pregnant.
The ending of this episode was so good. The fact that you're sitting there left with, oh damn, Viserys is not so simple, right? He's
not an idiot.
He's not an idiot.
He's weak, but he's not a foolish weakling.
No, he's not foolish. Yeah, he's not complete. He's blind. He's complex, but yeah, it was so good. It really hit.
Yep.
It was a great little setup, and the way that it played out was it was a great scene. Just a really great scene.
Absolutely. And I like that he doesn't argue with her, right? He doesn't go like, no, I think you did it. Go take your moon tea, this and that. He just quietly sends the maester and is like, and even the maester is really delicate. He's like, this will prevent any unwanted complications.
Right.
I think she drinks it.
Yeah, I think so. Right.
We don't see it, but yeah. I think she drinks it.
Yeah. It's if she hadn't and then she became pregnant, it would, the complications would be even worse. And I think she's feeling.
Hey, Milos, got any more of that happy tea?
Yeah. So I think she's smart to do it in that moment. Well, and the fact that, but the irony, of course, is that it's, you know, Daemon's seed is nowhere near there. It's going to be a different looking child.
Right.
You know, it's going to have black hair.
It's going to be baby Crispin.
Exactly. And that would have even been more, you know, as we get later on, you know, things do get a little weird later on. So if I remember right.
Yeah, things do get a little weird. Well, that's the episodes, David.
Yeah. Great episode, episode 4. Just, oh, you know, something that we forgot to mention too, we haven't talked about, is the tapestries. It's not like a big point, but they were the talk of the season when it was first airing. Because once people started to notice and realize what was going on in them, that everybody was going on these tapestry hunts and trying to like find pictures of them and stuff, screenshots. Anyway, just this episode, the casting, the acting, everything was just spot on.
So like when Viserys is like, oh, you have to see the tapestries.
Yeah, see, that's
He's saying, you want to see my porn collection? Oh, I got
I've
some
got it.
tapes in the back.
Yeah, it's huge. It's, it's 14 feet by
Oh my
7
God.
feet. Yeah.
Oh my God. All right. That's enough talk for these episodes. We don't usually get this raunchy on this podcast. It's just that this is
It's
the
true.
show. This
It's
is
the
the
show.
show. Why don't we head into listener feedback?
Sounds like a good plan.
You can, of course, send your listener feedback to hotd@thelorehounds.com or head to the contact page on our website, thelorehounds.com, where you can send us a voicemail or a contact form entry. You can also chat with us live on our Discord server or tag us and say, hey, David, John, I don't feel like going on my email right now. We want to make sure that this feedback gets in the podcast. We will slap it right in. Now, today we've got one piece of feedback from someone who doesn't watch the show.
Okay.
And that is Marilyn Arpukila. David,
Pretty
my
funny.
voice is tired, and I'm going to pass this to you.
Got it. Let me get the feedback document open. And Marilyn says, hello, Lorehounds. Hello, Marilyn. Marilyn says, while I have no intention of watching any of the episodes, I think, what is this score? What does the show rank on the Pukila scale?
8.
8? Oof. You think so that high?
Wait, is 5 is the neutral one?
No, 0 is neutral.
Oh, 0 is oh, no. Never mind. 3. I'm going to say 3.
Yeah, I'd say 3. I'd say 3 is right. I think I will enjoy listening to your podcasts on the Hot D Season 1 and the upcoming Season 2. For one thing, there's all sorts of possibilities for medieval lore to be shared. Indeed, there is. And we would love to have feedback on medieval lore. For instance, the level of violence that appeared in a tourney depended much on which century it was held in, though I suspect that Gurm may have exaggerated it all for effect. But in Western Europe, tournaments were widespread from the 10th through the 16th century as expressions of aristocratic ideals, as well as training for combat. It began in the 9th century with the Frankish cavalry practicing military skills. This involves primarily the melee or tourney tournament, which was essentially an all-out combat with groups of as many as 200 people, lots of injuries, and far more than a few deaths. The jousts, on the other hand, were one-on-one contests between two knights with lances, which would also show up at tourneys from time to time. The earliest record of a tourney death occurred in 1066 in Tours. By the mid-12th century, England was participating in tournaments. A tourney was definitely a training for a war using all the same weapons and armor. They established a safe space for injured combatants to recover. Sometimes the two opposing groups came from different regions that were also in actual combat with each other. That's interesting. They would use the area as large as that between two villages with marshals who were supposed to ensure that the rules were followed. But it's kind of hard to see what's going on a village away from where you are currently located. By this time, the tourney was mostly intended for individual combatants to be able to increase his wealth by winning weapons, horses, and ransom from those he defeated. The church often tried to ban tournaments and definitely condemned them, but most knights didn't really care. There's documentation of a London tourney in which 7 knights showed up with each one dressed as one of the 7 deadly sins. Revenge matches might often result in real battles taking place. So, up until the 14th century, the tourney was a bloody and violent business and could well have had people lopping off heads and such. It was the jousting that was the safer behavior. Interesting. It resulted in fewer deaths. It required, that's hard to believe. Not deaths. I would figure that it would be a lot of big bone injuries, right? Getting thrown off a horse and wearing
paralysis
a giant tin
and whatnot.
cannon. Yeah. It required great skill, and this and honor were more important than brute strength, along with your lineage. Eventually, it became a massive social event with ladies attending and the emphasis on chivalry, banquets, and booths for selling things. Jousting became the primary event, though they would usually end with a small melee with blunted weapons. By the 16th century, weapons and warfare had changed, and in 1559, the French King Henry II was killed in a joust, so tournaments started to decline at this point. It sounds as though the scene you were seeing was a simple all-out melee rather than a joust, but I wasn't there, so I don't know. So yeah, Marilyn, the scene, it was jousting, primarily jousting, and then the jousts when when both combatants were off their horses, they would engage in melee combat, and rather than just defeating and or yielding, being defeated, being knocked out or whatever, they were actually following through and killing each other straight up, which from the standpoint of, hey, this is all part of a party to celebrate the king's, the birth of the king's son.
By the way, I don't think they had to kill the person. If the person yielded, they could not.
That's what I'm saying. It would be poor sport to yield to kill somebody if they yielded,
right?
As well as the fact that everybody's here to improve their renown, to get more combat training and all this kind of stuff. So it's all play. So why are you actually cracking each other's skulls open? It seemed to be extremely excessive for a party tourney, thing. So it was a bit strange because if you're sending, all the young men from your house, those are valuable assets. You don't want to just, have them killed in a silly tournament for the birthing of the king's son. So anyway, she continues, my other 2 points are much shorter. The whole concept of brother-sister marriages is pretty repugnant to us now, but of course, in ancient Egypt, it was a done thing amongst the pharaohs to keep the rulers in the family, which meant the proper divine bloodlines.
And I will add, in this show, there's actual lore reasons to do that, which is these are the only people who can control dragons.
Right. And
so if I guess there is actually a lore reason to do this, but it's still icky to us from modern sensibilities. But also, I think we said in the first episode, like, we're not going to just constantly complain about it because that's going to get exhausting.
Right. Well, noted, but we'll move on. It also produced some pretty lousy pharaohs, of course, by the medieval period, which I understand is what Gurm imagines he's writing. It was entirely flipped. There were so many degrees of separation required between two people proposing marriage that it became very difficult for anyone in the nobility to find someone they could legally marry. Usually they simply wound up getting papal dispensations, but this was often politically fraught. Even as late as Victoria and Albert, who were first cousins, the practice continued, though in this case without papal dispensation, since England had long since become a majority Protestant, which resulting in the spreading of hemophilia amongst a large number of the noble houses throughout Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Oops. So and I think the point here too is that there's a lot of varied practices from culture to time to place, a lot of and the idea of consolidating your power, right? And holding it within smaller and smaller groups to be able to exert influence on those who are exerting influence. So,
and of course, we do have the famous line in Game of Thrones of every time the Targaryens have a child, the gods flip a coin, right? Like they could be mad or not.
Right.
Like really good or really, really bad.
Yeah. Marilyn concludes, and every time I hear the word valerian, I think of the herb valerian, which is a lovely one that helps one relax and fall asleep. I think it's a rather inappropriate name to give a noble house of Westeros or anywhere else for that matter. All the best, Marilyn. Well, thanks, Marilyn, for writing in. It's great to have some history from a bona fide librarian and a scholar such as yourself. So please do continue to listen to the pods. I totally get not wanting to get into the show, given that the Pukila scale is your namesake.
Mm-hmm. Don't worry, we'll describe all the brutality and the incest for you.
That's right. But it's great to have you along. So thanks and keep sending us in your missives. I think that's all we got for feedback today.
That's it, which shame on you all. I mean, Marilyn's not even watching the show and she wrote it. Shame on you all. Bow to your king. I'm doing the Bobby B bot now.
Yes.
All right. It's getting late. I'm getting sleepy. We're getting punchy. Let's head into our show notes so we can close this thing out.
So quickly, thank you to everyone who is a subscriber. It means a lot. We use all of those funds to make sure we have all the systems and tools that we need to be able to produce so many different podcasts, as well as our co-hosts get to share in the in some of that as well.
The
so
fruits
that
of our labor.
the fruits of our labor, so that we're like really honoring the the creative relationships that we have with our co-hosts as well. Consider if you are considering a subscription, I would say first look at Supercast. It's exactly like Patreon, except it's just built for podcasters. So we want to go in that direction, and we like it a little bit more. And if you do that, and Patreon or there, consider an annual subscription, because we actually throw in a really good 10% discount, and it's kind of crazy amount of value that you get. So
Absolutely.
we would really, and if you can't or you don't want to subscribe, no sweat either. We've got the public ad-free feeds, and we just appreciate everyone being here with us.
And we've got the season pass. Don't
And we
forget
do.
about that. You
Yes,
can do the
the
season
season
pass
pass.
one time, $10. You get the ad-free podcast and early access and the show guide, and we get your $10.
Yeah, and you get early. Yeah, you get all the benefits. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think the idea of just not, for some people, they just the
I get
whole
it. I get
subscription
it.
thing.
I look at my account statements and I'm like, why did I forget about that subscription? So
Yeah,
this is a way for, if you really just are so into Hot D for us, then you go ahead, you buy that season pass and you'll have it forever.
yeah, good stuff. Discord. We are in the middle of actually doing a bit of a reorganization and getting things cleaned up, but we have a really fun and active community. We've got a good mod team and just a lot of great folks who love to nerd out and talk about television all together. It's kind of our virtual water cooler, to use that overused metaphor.
Mhm.
But we've got channels for all the different projects and shows that we've got covered, that we're working on. And if you just want to have a place to hang out and chit chat with people about movies and TV, it's join us there. We'd love to have you.
Yeah.
Affiliates.
We've got plenty of stuff going on. So I just started doing a weekly community show note update. Yeah.
It was so much.
But here's the thing though. Now I actually can tell you what's coming this week, and I don't have to just spitball a bunch of random stuff that's come out. All right. So this week we've got on the Lorehounds feed, we've got House of the Dragon, season 1, episodes 3 and 4. That's what you just heard. We've got Silmarillion stories of the Return of the Noldor. That is going to be with Tea with Tolkien. I'm excited to talk with Caitlin from Tea with Tolkien, because she's a very smart person, and I think it'll be a good conversation. Then Marilyn is going to join me and Alicia for the Bad Batch season 3 wrap up and Tales of the Empire. So send in feedback, of course, for that. Next week is going to be Doctor Who. We're going to cover the Christmas special and then through episode 2, because it's a double premiere this weekend. So stay tuned for that. That feedback, by the way, because it's a weird email, is tardis@thelorehounds.com, because we're super fun about it. The Star Wars Complete Canon Timeline podcast launched this week. That is Alicia's new podcast, where she's bringing you through all the way from the dawn of the Jedi, through the Old Republic, through the High Republic. Then on that feed, me and Alicia are going to be covering the Acolyte in full coverage in June. So
just a quick note about the canon project, the Star Wars Timeline canon project. It's so freaking cool.
It is
what she's doing. She's actually doing something that's really unique in the world of podcasting, and the way that podcasts come out, and the way that she's structuring the information. It's super innovative, and I'm just fascinated to see how this thing works and plays out. I'm just so impressed with her creative sensibilities around podcasting. So I'm super excited for this podcast.
Yeah, it's going to be super good. I've already listened to some of it, but I have to listen to her new episode she just dropped like right before we recorded. Yeah.
And we've got a channel set up too for the Star Wars canon timeline. So if you've got questions and are trying to work things out, you can talk to Alicia straight there on the Discord.
Yep. Radioactive Ramblings is going to be dropping season 2, episodes 1 through 4 of Invincible. Mm-hmm. And I'm excited to hear that, even though I haven't watched the show. I think they're going to do a great job. I know they're going to be covering The Boys, so this will be a good prep podcast, I think.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. And we're going to bounce on to that podcast every once in a while with them for that season, which will be fun, though. So
Felonies and Fugazis is keeping going at Properly Howard. And may I say, David, you You told me, make sure you turn on Properly Howard today. And I did. I usually do anyway, but I did right after you said that. And they discovered that we had a sound from our Shogun podcast in there.
Yeah, from the
and they
season
used
wrap,
it, and
yeah.
it made me laugh so hard. So they talked about Pulp Fiction. It's a really great episode.
Yeah.
Even if you haven't watched the movies, which I usually don't.
You don't need to.
Fun, yeah, it's a fun podcast. They just make fun of things. They debate whether Keanu Reeves is a good actor, etc.
And they're both film nerds, right? So they're actually into film as well as having fun and being silly about stuff. So it's this great mix of sweet and sour, in that way. Two great tastes that go together.
Yep.
Next up is Grosse Point Blank. So,
well, I think they said in their podcast they're going to take a break and do the Dune 2 conversation.
Oh, you're right. They are. They're going to re-release the Dune conversation. Yeah.
So they're going to release that next week, and then the following week they'll return.
Yeah.
We'll Shift Dust next week is going to be covering Beacon 23, Season 2, Episodes 4 through 6. So check that out. Rings and Rituals will be back next week as well with another episode. I think on episode 5 now we're up to.
Yes, I believe so.
Very exciting. All right. Plenty of stuff going on. We're back on the content train. We got a little disrupted there, but things are firing. The fire hose is firing.
Yep. And I know Alicia is wanting to do something on the new Planet of the Apes movie that's about to drop. So I think that's coming out as well.
That's cool.
Some stuff will be out.
Listen, David.
Yeah,
we could talk here all night about all the things that are about to happen.
We should get it
But
off.
instead, I think let's talk about the things happening in the next week or so, because otherwise we're going to be here all night.
Fair enough. Well, anyway, so time for our shout outs. Discord server boosters, Opus the Machine, Gnarls, Aaron K, Tiller the Thriller, Dork of the Ninjas, and Doove71. Thank you for helping to boost our server and make a more fun place for everybody to hang out. And to our lore masters, Samartian, Michael G, Michelle E, David W, Brian P, Nick W, SC, Peter O.H, Bettina W, Adam S, Nancy M, Doove71, Brian 8063, Frederick H, Sarah L, Gareth C, Eric F, Matthew M, Sarah M, DJ Miwa, Andra B, Kwong Yu, Deadeye Jedi Bob, Nathan T, Alex V, Aaron T, Sub-Zero, Aaron K, Dally V21, Mothership 61, Gnarls, and the last shall be first, Adrian, who is a special request to always be listed last. But thank you all to our top tier Lore Master subscribers. We appreciate you, and your ongoing support means a lot to us. And to everyone, thanks for listening and subscribing and just being part of the community.
Should we get as drunk as Viserys and thank everyone like that?
No, I can't get drunk like that anymore.
All right. Fair enough.
Oh, stick around post credits.
Oh, stick around. Yeah, you'll hear the lovely song of 22-year-old John.
It's hilarious. It's really good.
All right. See you next week. The Lorehounds podcast is produced and published by the Lorehounds. You can send questions and feedback and voicemails at thelorehounds.com/contact. Get early and ad-free access to all Lorehounds podcasts at patreon.com/thelorehounds. Any opinions stated are ours personally and do not reflect the opinion of or belong to any employers or other entities. Thanks for listening.
Sister, who do I stand before this morning? Never thought you'd get through the door, you poor thing. Speaking of your promises and hoping to be gone before the night falls, tell me where you might go. Sister, I am still counting crows. fight that's left within you. They left my heart a bloody mess and found me when the night was finally through. I never thought I'd lose. How can I go on with this feeling that I become somebody's too? Ooh. The time that I'm stealing is only appealing to you. Ooh. And I'm trying my best to go on with the rest, but it's rude. Seems at times not on our side. Snow has buried all of my pride. Those words you speak will only bring more suffering for you and me. But one day maybe we can be free.
A new Star Wars journey begins in the place all good journeys begin. At, well, the beginning. This Star Wars Day, I'm excited to introduce the new Star Wars Canon Timeline podcast, where we will piece together the complete story of that galaxy far, far away, in timeline order, from the dawn of the Jedi through the great unknown following the sequel trilogy. This is a podcast for both Star Wars superfans and complete newbies. Listen to the short intro episode now to hear how it works and what to expect over the coming weeks as we set the stage for the new television series The Acolyte, which we will be covering with weekly breakdowns. Subscribe to the Star Wars Canon Timeline podcast wherever you listen to take part in one of the most epic and expansive stories ever told, following all the twists and turns from start to finish. May the 4th be with you all month and beyond.